Well, this here is the VW Polo. Now I can't call it all new because this has really been the same car for the last 10 years or so. VW has only changed the grille, the bumpers and modified the headlamps a bit in those last 10 years. So if you are in the market for a used car, if you're in the market for a used premium hatchback, then the Polo makes great sense for you. And even if you're in the market for a new car, then there are some qualities which make it stand out from a sea of other premium hatchbacks. So today in this video, I'll tell you if you're on the market for a used car or a new car, why you should consider buying the VW Polo. But before that, a small request, please do follow me on Instagram. My handle is AshishMasi1, and of course my handle on Twitter also is the same. And if you do follow me on those two platforms, then you can get a lot of behind the scene footages and see what we're up to always. Thanks for watching. Well, jump inside the cabin of the VW Polo. Now, the new thing on this car is this seat fabric. Now, this is of course the GT TDI version of the car. So you get this fancy seat fabric. If you want to buy a used version, then you'll get beige colors over here for the diesel and the petrol versions. And of course, the GT TSI and TDI versions will get an all black interior. In terms of the build quality, it is the best car in this segment. It's got a very solid build quality. Let me just show it to you by closing the doors, and there you get a very reassuring and a very solid sounding thud, which is the best in the business. The materials also are the best. The small switches over here really are the best in the business, as I just said. And even if you keep this car for 10 years or longer than that, then you will simply love and enjoy the cabin, because there will be no rattles, there will be no squeaks, and it will feel as fresh as it came from the factory. Now, in terms of the overall design, it is now looking old. It is of course a 10-year-old design, so it will feel a little old, but you get a host of information here in the central display. You get distance to empty, you get the average fuel economy, the kind of time you've done and been behind the wheel, and of course a host of other information. And the seats are pretty good in terms of comfort. They've always been good. You get very good support for your under thighs, very good support for your lower back, and the steering wheel is really nice to grip. This, of course, I just said, is the GT version, so you get this flat bottom steering wheel, and the regular version of the car comes with a regular round steering wheel. Overall, if VW decides to spruce up the interiors by the design and the way they look, then I'm sure that buyers will flock to this car, because the build quality, the overall ambience, as well as the Germanic feel inside this car of solidity is very good. I'll give it a good score of 8 out of 10. Let's jump in the back seat and see how good that really is. Well, so I'm in the back seat of the Polo. Now, it doesn't matter which one you buy, the petrol, the diesel, the GTI, the GT TSI, all of them have the same kind of space at the back, and it's quite okay, it's decent, but considered against its rivals, it's definitely below them. It's below the i20s, below the Swift, and all those other cars in the segment. Headroom also is a bit tight. Now, I have adjusted the front seat for my driving position, and my height for reference is 5'10". So if your chauffeur is about 5'10" or 5'11", and even you are about 5'10", 5'11", then space in the back will be just about average. The good thing is, though, that the seats are quite good, very generous in terms of the cushioning and the support, and the backrest angle also is quite nice. There's a huge lump in the floor panel though, so whoever sitting here will definitely have to stretch his feet, and you also don't get AC vents at the back, which is something that VW should have offered on this car. Good point again is that the windows are nice and large, and there's also a small quarter glass window, so you don't feel claustrophobic in the back seat. Overall, a decent score of 8 out of 10, because the seats themselves are good and generous in terms of comfort. Now let's see how good the boot is. Well, so one of the big strengths of the Polo has always been its big size boot. Now, it is at par with other rivals, and the shape also is quite good. It's a very square shaped boot, so if you have a big bag to load in, it should not be an issue in the least. There's a bit of a sill, but it's not too much. And in terms of the overall luggage carrying capacity, as I just said, it is at par with its rivals. So if you're in the market for a premium hatchback, which you will be regularly using for the long highway trips with the entire family, then this one should have enough space to keep at least 3 or 4 days weekend luggage in. I'll give it a strong score of 8.5 out of 10. And the cool point about this boot also is the way it opens up, because this VW logo acts as the button to open up the boot. So for that style and swag, I'll give it half a mark more, 9 out of 10. Well, so here I am driving the VW Polo, And this of course is the GT TDI version of the car that I'm driving today and shooting today. You can of course choose the petrols as well. There's a GT TSI version as well, which comes with a 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox. But whichever version you choose, whichever one you decide to choose, all the Polos are very nice to drive. Yes, the driving dynamics of this car have always been its key strength, and the reason for that is that the steering wheel is really crisp, it's very dynamic, and it offers you a very good sensation of what the wheels are doing under the hood and their contact with the road. So it really is a very crisp steering wheel, the best in fact on any small car. It's better than the Altroz, better than the Baleno, better than the Swift, and definitely better than the i20. What you'll also like is the overall chassis dynamic of this car. The chassis feels very dynamic, very sporty, and if you are someone who enjoys throwing his car into corners, going up the hills, then definitely you'll enjoy the VW Polo. It doesn't matter if it's a new car, if it's an old car, if it's a diesel or a petrol. The dynamic ability of the VW Polo is the best on any small car. Now, what you'll also like about this car is its ride comfort. The ride comfort is very good. It's a very absorbent ride, and it doesn't matter what speeds you're doing. You might be doing slow city speeds, or you might be doing faster highway speeds. It doesn't really matter because the ride comfort is exemplary. In fact, for such small car with such compact dimensions, this car rides really well. It just eats up all the bumps, the potholes, and on the highway it feels very stable, very reassuring. In fact, I think along with the Ford Figo and the Tata Altroz, this is the best car in terms of sheer ride comfort in the small premium hatchback segment. Now, talking about the diesel engine on this car, it's a 100 bhp motor. It's a fabulous motor in terms of power delivery. Now, this diesel engine tends to become a little noisy when you rev it hard, and it is a little noisy when you start off from cold. So don't think that it's the most silent diesel engine around. It's not. But that said, it's very good in terms of fuel efficiency, and it's also good in terms of power delivery. Yes, turbo lag is at a minimum on this car. The engine starts responding from about 1700, 1800 RPM, which is quite decent considering that other cars in the diesel segment start responding from about 2000 RPM. So in those departments, it is quite a decent car. As I said, it becomes a little loud when you rev it hard, but on the highway, if you're doing a decent clip of about 80 or 90 kph and the engine is running at around 1800 RPM, the cabin feels well isolated and there's minimal buzz, which enters in the petrol engine. The 1.2 engine, the GT TSI engine, is a hoot to drive as well. But of course, if you choose the lower powered engines, then you might need to use the gearbox more judiciously. You will want to be changing gears on a regular basis, but that's not a big problem because the gearbox on the Polo, again, irrespective of which engine you choose, is quite good to operate. It's a nice and crisp gearbox. It's got a springy action to it. It feels sporty and it's very accurate as well. And the clutch also on all versions is nice and light, and it should not tire you after a long day behind the steering wheel. In fact, this car will not tire you. You will feel very happy with this car because of the tight controls, the good dynamics, as well as the sharp steering wheel on offer. Now, in terms of pure power delivery, 100 bhp for a diesel engine is quite good, and the power delivery is quite good as well. You get a very strong mid-range from about 800 RPM to around 4,500 RPM. This car really does deliver very strongly, and you will enjoy the overall dynamics of the car. Couple of negatives though. One big negative is that the visibility is very limited from this mirror over here. It's not the best, and also the side view mirrors are really tiny and small. So that is something that maybe VW should fix and maybe give bigger mirrors, because for this one you'll have to move around like this and see if there's an object or a car or a bike close to you. So that is something which is definitely there. And the second thing is that it's a car which comes with low set seats. It's not a very high set hatchback. It doesn't feel like you're sitting inside a car which has high set seats. So you have to look around like this in case you're stuck in traffic. You won't know what's happening 2 or 3 cars ahead of you, and that is of course a big negative in today's chock and block city traffic. But apart from that, as a package to drive, as a car, in terms of ride handling, in terms of the gearbox uses, it is a very good car, and a car that you will truly enjoy driving on a daily basis, and definitely a car which will put a smile on your face. And as I said, if you decide to buy the diesel, you also get good fuel economy. In fact, we've been driving on this car for the last 3 or 4 days, and it's giving us 16.5 kpl. We've been driving it in the city with the AC on, and we've been driving it within traffic limits. So 16.5 for that kind of engine and that kind of power are very good figures, and definitely it's quite impressive. Now, a VW Polo diesel, about 5-year-old, can be had for around 4.5 lakh rupees in good condition. A petrol version of a 5-year-old car can be had for about 50,000 less. So do keep those things in mind. The best version, of course, for me is the GT TSI version. That is a little expensive. So if you buy a 3 or 4-year-old car, you might have to shell out about 7 lakh rupees, because the new GT TSI and TDI versions of the car costed close to 10.5, 11 lakh rupees on road. So overall, as I just said, if you're in the market for a second-hand premium hatchback car, you should definitely check out the VW Polo at a dealership near you, and a used car dealership near you, and you'll really enjoy the overall experience. Now, some people say that the Polo is more expensive to maintain than other cars, but that's not true, because the service interval for this car is a little longer. It's got a longer service interval than its other rivals like a Maruti or a Hyundai. So the overall costing comes to more or less the same. Yes, it is a German car, so some of the costs might be a little higher, and I do agree that the overall costing might be about 15-20% higher when you compare it with other rivals. But because of that service interval, because of the quality, as well as the overall ambience, and being a VW badge over here, means that you will feel good about this car. And definitely, I think that little bit of extra that you gave in terms of maintenance is worth the extra amount, because you sit in such a high quality package. As always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon, and also like this video before you leave if you enjoyed the content. Even if you didn't enjoy the content, do like it, and let us know if you want to see more content like this. It's bye for now, and a big thanks for watching. I'll see you soon in the next one.